BBC General Hospital spoilers reveal that Valentin has finally been unable to escape the grasp of the law. After a series of bold, cunning, and incredibly sophisticated actions to manipulate government organizations, deceive those close to him, and hide a plethora of dark secrets, the moment he is escorted to prison marks the end of his risky days of freedom. The crimes Valentin committed, including colluding with underground forces, abusing his power in the shadows of the WSB, and especially his involvement in terrorist bombings in Port Charles, are now being revealed piece by piece, with the full picture increasingly showing the gravity of the damage he caused. It was thought that his imprisonment would be the end, the conclusion to his chaotic journey, but for Valentin, it seems like everything has only just begun. As he steps into prison, he is not the only Cassadine facing consequences. Nikolas, the brooding nephew with a dangerous nature and boundless ambitions, is also incarcerated after kidnapping Esme Prince while she was pregnant. The fact that two Cassadine family members are locked up together is not just a punishment, but the beginning of a new, risky series of events, as these two of the most dangerous minds in the family now have the opportunity to either collaborate or clash in a lawless space. What makes the situation even more chaotic is the recent revelation that Esme is still alive. This detail not only upends all the prior accusations against Nikolas but also hints at a larger, more complex conspiracy, potentially involving Valentin. If Esme truly survived and has been hidden away all this time, who is behind her concealment? Could Valentin have played a role in her disappearance, or in preventing her from testifying? If Esme's survival is confirmed, the legal system in Port Charles will be shaken. Nikolas could face new charges, while Valentin will be dragged deeper into a legal whirlwind, this time not only for crimes against the government but also for human crimes, crimes involving innocent lives, like Esme's unborn child. And worse, if these two Cassadines decide to hide each other's secrets to ensure their survival behind bars, past dangers will continue to threaten Port Charles's future. The simultaneous imprisonment of Valentin and Nikolas is not just a surprising detail but a symbol of the rise of darkness. They don't just share blood, they are two forces who once tried to control Port Charles in different ways, one with intelligence and sophisticated social masks, the other with cruelty and violent ambition. Imprisonment doesn't necessarily make them weaker, it could become an opportunity to carve out a new path, a Cassadine alliance from within the prison walls, more dangerous, more secretive, and ready to strike when no one expects it. Meanwhile, outside the prison, people like Laura, Sonny, and Anna are facing a terrifying possibility, that Esme's existence, if verified, could be the key to unlocking a series of hidden secrets, and could also be the reason why the Cassadines are acting more recklessly than ever. Laura, as someone who has been close to both of these men, will have to balance reason with familial ties. Anna, who once loved Valentin and is now part of the machine that put him behind bars, will need to reassess the boundaries between duty and emotion. The story is moving beyond anyone's expectations. Esme could be a victim, a witness, or a pawn hidden in a vast Cassadine chess game. And with the two most dangerous Cassadines now sharing a prison cell, Port Charles may not have much time to prepare before the storm truly hits. Everything may not end when Valentin enters prison, it might only be the beginning of a much darker chapter. Nikolas and Valentin, two names tied to the tangled history and dark power of the Cassadine family, now stand on the same side, albeit in the cold prison environment, surrounded by iron walls and the sound of clanking chains. After months of confrontation, betrayal, and interwoven plots, the two have finally come to an unspoken but weighty consensus. It's time to revive the Cassadine family, to restore the reputation that once made the world tremble. But unlike plans written in the light, their intentions are nurtured in the dark, fueled by pain, ambition, and hatred. Valentin, with his sharp strategic mind and experience in controlling the underworld, is now forced to accept a long sentence behind bars. His crimes, from involvement in national-level conspiracies, threatening the lives of key figures in Port Charles, to colluding with underground intelligence organizations, have made his imprisonment unavoidable. But for Valentin, prison is not the end. He sees it as a place to plan, to quietly map out a new direction for the Cassadine family, and most importantly, to test Nikolas's loyalty, a nephew who has betrayed him many times and caused unmeasurable chaos. Nikolas, in contrast to Valentin, is facing an unpredictable crossroads. Though imprisoned for kidnapping Esme Prince while she was pregnant, with new developments, particularly the growing doubts about Esme's survival and the legal details being re-examined, the possibility of Nikolas's early release is becoming more and more apparent. This means that while Valentin remains trapped behind bars and in the clutches of the law, Nikolas could soon return to the outside world, bringing with him a part of the Cassadine plan that they've quietly formed behind prison walls. However, what complicates matters more than ever is the unpredictable, insane nature of both men's actions. Every move carries the risk of causing a crisis. Valentin, once considered rational and sharp, is now deeply wounded both psychologically and in terms of trust, especially after losing everything: power, love, freedom. He could become more reckless than ever, ready to place Nikolas in any role in the plan, as long as the Cassadine family is put back on the throne. Nikolas, with his heart full of contradictions and often driven by emotion, could turn the dream of revival into a series of ruthless actions, spiraling out of control. The situation intensifies as Nikolas prepares for his release. If he carries with him Cassadine ambitions but lacks Valentin's restraint, it could be the recipe for a new disaster in Port Charles. People like Laura, Spencer, Ava, and even Sonny will need to stay vigilant, as a free Nikolas, driven by vengeance and the promise of restoring the Cassadine family, is a storm that no one can stop. Valentin may be imprisoned, but his mind remains free. Nikolas may step out of prison, but he carries the weight of responsibility and the danger of the reckless actions they're both willing to take. This Cassadine duo is opening an entirely new chapter for the family, a chapter not just about inheriting power, but one of chaotic rebirth, cunning, and a threat to the safety of all of Port Charles. And in the storm that is forming, there will be no clear line between bloodlines and destruction. Valentin is shaking Port Charles to its core with the sudden revelation of a long-hidden secret: Esme is still alive, and not only that, Spencer is also not dead. This information immediately becomes one of the biggest shocks in recent times, overturning all predictions and triggering a chain reaction that could change the entire power dynamic in the town. The truth revealed not only resets the foundation of investigations into Esme's disappearance and Spencer's supposed death, but also forces Nikolas into an unprecedented difficult position. Nikolas, who has been imprisoned with a covert plan to rebuild the Cassadine Empire, is suddenly forced to confront a completely new reality. The plans for revenge, revival, and overthrow that were made in the absence of Spencer and the silence of Esme are now collapsing piece by piece. With Spencer alive, the position of heir to the Cassadine family is no longer as clear as before. With Esme surviving, the charges keeping Nikolas imprisoned could be overturned, but this also exposes other secrets he has tried to hide. This change is explosive, and it doesn't just stop within the Cassadine family. Valentin, though still imprisoned, proves that he holds power cards that can change the game. The revelation of this crucial secret is not only meant to shake Nikolas's mindset but also strategically targets the larger forces operating in the shadows of Port Charles, including Sonny and WSB Director Brennan. Sonny, who has been grappling with threats from all sides, is now pushed into a more dangerous position than ever. If Spencer is alive, and if Esme is still a key figure in underground conspiracies, then Sonny, who once protected Spencer and went head-to-head with Esme, could become the target of a multi-pronged attack, from within the family, from lawless forces, and even from those he once trusted. Spencer's survival means that an unfinished legacy will return, and it's likely to bring a series of dangers Sonny hasn't prepared for. Meanwhile, Brennan, who seemed to hold the upper hand as the WSB director, cannot stay out of this. The fact that Esme is alive means that crucial information has been kept hidden from the high-security organization. Brennan, who has been involved in shady dealings with Valentin and underground power groups, might be pulled into a chaotic series of events that directly threaten his position and life. If Esme is the key to a larger plan, a plan that could collapse the system, Brennan will be one of the first to be hunted. Valentin has dropped an information bomb in the heart of Port Charles. And its consequences are spreading, not only within the prison but also beyond the town's safety boundaries. With Nikolas beginning to lose control, with Spencer and Esme potentially returning to the game, and with Sonny and Brennan both pushed into dangerous zones, Port Charles is heading toward an unprecedented political family criminal storm. Valentin, from inside prison, is still pulling the strings. And the nightmare he has just unleashed may be the beginning of a bloodier, crazier, and more unpredictable era. Nikolas, after a long period of imprisonment and being sidelined in the power game in Port Charles, is now returning with one sole purpose: to reclaim Wyndemere Castle, once the supreme symbol of the Cassadine family and the stronghold of previous generations of power. But this time, his opponent is not a family member or a familiar political force, but Sidwell, a dangerous, mysterious figure who has been slowly infiltrating Wyndemere during Nikolas's absence, turning that sacred place into his own dark conspiracy center. Wyndemere Castle is not only an inheritance asset but also the heart of the Cassadine family, a place that holds the history of blood oaths, life-or-death battles, and secrets never revealed. For Nikolas, allowing an outsider like Sidwell to take Wyndemere is the ultimate humiliation, not just for himself but for the honor of the family. That is why he is willing to risk everything, including his freedom and life, to take back that land that once belonged to his father, his uncle, and himself. But Nikolas is not alone. In a surprising twist, Valentin, once considered Nikolas's greatest rival, has become an ally, an essential part of the plan to revive the Cassadine family. The pair, who had once clashed with psychological warfare and betrayal, now stand on the same side, ready to push any moral boundaries to achieve their ultimate goal: to restore the strength and power of the Cassadine name. Valentin, though still imprisoned, continues to exercise his sharp mind and ability to manipulate underground forces without rest. He has helped Nikolas plot every detail of the plan to reclaim Wyndemere, from accessing insiders, gathering information about Sidwell, to setting up diversionary tactics to mislead those watching. Every step they take is carefully calculated, bearing the hallmark of coldness and Cassadine strategy. However, what is unfolding is not just a land dispute. The alliance between Nikolas and Valentin is creating a profound wave of chaos within Port Charles. The madness of the Cassadine family, which has deeply rooted itself in the town's history, is now revived, fiercer and more dangerous than ever. Once again, the name Cassadine becomes a warning, a shadow looming over all those who thought the family's power had crumbled. Nikolas, with his thirst for revenge and boundless ambition, is preparing for the biggest attack of his life. Meanwhile, Sidwell, the one holding Wyndemere, is not an easy opponent to defeat. He has his own network, loyal guards, and an array of defensive plans that have been prepared for a long time. This battle will not just be about law or inheritance, but about blood, retribution, and dark power. The confrontation between Nikolas and Sidwell is pushing the whole town into a state of heightened alert. Laura, who always tries to balance family and justice, begins to see the storm approaching. Sonny, the ruler of Port Charles's underworld, realizes that if the Cassadines reclaim Wyndemere, a new force will rise to challenge his empire. Brennan, who has been manipulating from behind the scenes, cannot stay out of it when the power pieces start to shift. And amidst it all, Valentin and Nikolas, two of the most dangerous Cassadines, two minds that once clashed, now united, are silently pushing everything to the edge. Their chemistry doesn't come from trust, but from understanding each other too well, knowing when to keep their word, when to strike back, and when to use their cold blood as a weapon. A new chapter is being written in fire, scheming, and hatred. Wyndemere is no longer just a prize, but a symbol of the return of a family that once spread terror. And this time, the Cassadines will show no mercy. Nikolas is stepping into a completely new chapter of his life, a dangerous battle with Ava, the woman who was once love, an ally, and then the deepest betrayer of him. As the darkness of the Cassadine family begins to rise again, Nikolas is no longer torn between good and evil, but becomes a cold, calculating figure, ready to drag anyone down with him if they dare stand in his way, even Ava. The relationship between Nikolas and Ava has long surpassed the boundaries of a broken marriage. It is a mess of passion, lies, betrayal, and wounds that have never been healed. Ava, smart, sharp, and not easily subdued, has always understood Nikolas better than anyone. She once loved him, once believed in a future together, but what Nikolas did in the past, from his cold brutality to the explosive secrets at Wyndemere, turned that love into contempt and hatred. Now, as Nikolas returns and is determined to reclaim Wyndemere, Ava becomes one of the biggest obstacles in his way. She holds critical information, secrets that could bury every plan Nikolas is hiding. Not only that, but Ava also has a special connection with Spencer, whom Nikolas thought was lost, and with characters who are part of the underground power network in Port Charles, including Sunny and Laura. If Ava decides to exploit the information she knows, Nikolas could face a fatal blow before he can resurrect the Cassadine name. However, Nikolas is not someone who can easily be threatened. Returning from prison and being pushed into the dark side of power, he brings a new version of himself. Colder, crazier, and ready to do whatever it takes to claim what he believes is rightfully his. For Nikolas now, Ava is no longer a pitiful old woman but a target. He not only wants to remove her from his path but also to break her influence in the social, financial, and political relationships in Port Charles. This battle will not only be about power, but survival. A true disaster is approaching as the two, once intelligent, cunning, and deeply in love, are now ready to expose, strike back, and drag those around them into a dangerous whirlpool. Ava may seek support from Sunny, or even form a temporary alliance with those who have opposed the Cassadines. Meanwhile, Nikolas has Valentin's backing, and the pieces are being moved to turn Wyndemere into an impregnable fortress. The story between them is not just a personal tragedy, but a warning to all of Port Charles. When love is betrayed, and the past has not been buried, everything can explode into a battle from which no one can stand aside. And if no one acts in time, Nikolas and Ava will drag the entire town into a storm of hatred where right and wrong no longer exist, only destruction.